especially this Parchment. I think this Parchment pickup is big. Big for me to pick up a wide receiver from Kansas, as we call him, Wizard of Oz. He's still pretty. I think that should be a pretty good, and possibly Mackenzie Milton or Jordan Travis, whoever becomes a starter out of that group, should have a guy who actually makes plays, like what we thought Cameron Terry would be. So the spring should be interesting.
Let's talk about a couple of the pickups they got this week. Obviously, you talked about the receiver that comes in. Then we got the defensive player Logan talked about from Georgia. Florida State got a transfer coming in from the University of Georgia. Talk a little bit about that for a moment.
That's a big cat right there coming in. And obviously Florida State's offensive end unit is very thin. So this is a big get. A lot of FSU fans weren't thinking they were in the mix for it. And they're able to grab him. Odell Higgins and Adam Fuller and the rest of the staff are able to snag him. It helps a ton with depth, but not only just depth, he's going to be starting. You lose both Janarius Robinson and Joshua Kando, which we'll probably talk about. They've entered their name into the upcoming NFL draft. So this guy's going to come in and be an immediate impact for a year. Great size on him. And just wasn't really liking the way that he was being utilized in Georgia's defense. So I think it's definitely a big time get, and FSU fans should be happy for it, because right now, if you're looking at it, once you lose the two twin towers with J-Rob and Kando, there was, you're looking at guys that, have had maybe a good amount of playing time, but really weren't, there wasn't big splash plays from these cats. So he's going to come in and bring some kind of veteran experience too. And you also have Jarrett Jackson. You're looking at, Big Country, and a few others that might move on the outside. So it was a big, solid get that Florida State really needed heading into this offseason.
I'm sorry, Logan. You gave that entire breakdown. You didn't say the man's name once. What's the player's name?
Johnson. I just call him Johnson.
Jermaine Johnson's his name.
I was actually going to point to the attention of when Jason tries to wrestle the hosting duties away from me. This is what you get. You don't get names presented to the public, and just Logan's doing the analysis. You should have been able to set him up a little bit better than that.
Once again, in typical Mark fashion, blaming me. So that's what Mark does best here. I'm sure he was sending a mean tweet about Cleveland's baseball team or something, but that's fine. I
am looking up the stats of Andrew Parchment, who is the transfer wide receiver from Kansas. Who had a nice little season in 2019 with 65 catches, 831 yards, 7 touchdowns, 24 catches this past year with 2 touchdowns. So he's played at a high level.
And he also he's played very well against teams that we're not 100% sure how he will play well against. I got a chance to actually chop it up. That's one of the beautiful things that I get to do. Kind of come in like an OG or a stats to talk with some guys, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I talk to them very candidly and very real. And some guys, I don't just tell people to go here or there. I just get a vibe of what they do. But some people I can tell, I'll go and I'll tell people who ask me, I don't think that they'll work here. And I think I got a good vibe from him. One of the first things he said was, man, I can't wait. He's like, if you can't get up to play for Clemson, Notre Dame, Miami, Florida, trying to think of somebody else on the road. North Carolina, I believe we play next year again. He's like, and Boston College has improved. He's like, and I just put 150 on them. He's like, if you can't get up for those guys, then you don't want to play in the NFL. And that's what I like. I need guys who actually do want to play in the league. I think a lot of these guys that we just, even some of the guys that have entered the portal that we named, I think a lot of the guys who have been recruited, it all sounds good, but it's fictional. Their intentions is just like, you don't just go to the NFL by wearing the jersey. You go to the NFL by putting up stats, by putting up numbers, and these guys have done absolutely nothing. So to see this guy try to get to a more bigger program that plays on the bigger platform, I like those guys.
James, talk me down off the ledge here for a second, because I know Logan and Mark are ready to push me off the ledge here on this one. I want you to talk me down off the ledge, because we're the old timers here as far as the Florida State fans go. Tell me why I shouldn't be freaking out about the fact that we're supposed to be excited about a wide receiver transfer from Kansas.
Because we don't have any. Because we have zero.
So this is where
zero production. Well, let's just hold on, check, because this is again. I got a chance to again, flex my alumni muscles that not everybody gets a chance to do. Because I got a chance to, because this year has been a weird year for everybody involved, fans, media, and I unfortunately get swept up into this thing where people believe that I don't get to speak my mind as media because I'm a former player, which I have to talk about Florida, Miami, Georgia, the ACC, the SEC. I talk very, 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 very candidly about the Jaguars. I get on them really, really bad. But I talk about the NFL, but people believe that I should be all smiles and Hallmark cards, to the effect that dumbass fans have gone around saying, they read your tweets, James. Those are mean tweets, and that's pushing the guys away, which I think is stupid. If they get upset by mean tweets, then they can't play at Florida. They can't play at Clemson. Because guess what? Those people say very mean things, and our fans say very mean things too when they're mad. When they're good, they love you. But I'll say this: Ron Dugans has not had a chance. This is his second year to recruit his wide receivers. That receiving room isn't his. That receiving room is a bunch of guys that he didn't recruit. And there's a bunch of guys that have had different ears, that have had guys trying to come in there. So if this is a guy that actually should be what Terry was supposed to be on the second go around. And now you'll see the next step of some of these other young receivers mixed in with, if we can get Destin Hill or another type of playmaker, then it's not just this one person, it's the totality. And I'm not even going to the next step and anointing them as the receiving room, but I can give you, for hope, if you want hope, I can't push off the ledge, but if you want hope, again, I hate to say this, but look south on I-75. When they got Grimes, when they got their transfers, put it like that, wide receivers, they were big names or decent names when they were recruits, but they had done absolutely nothing in college. But once they got there and got into the system, they fit. So if this is a guy that Dugans actually gives the okay with, that he feels that he's good with, then I like that. But just even the way he's talking is way different than any other of our guys have talked. Like when I listen to it, maybe it's because he was talking to me, and I'm not media. I'm different. And he felt like he was talking to another player, so he's more relaxed and feels like he can talk that trash like we talk. But when I listen to a season full of buy-in, coaching, we're going to do this, and we're so grateful, we're thankful, we're smiles and Hallmark cards, and things like that. When I've heard all the other interviews and that's what was coming from it, and then I hear this guy say, "Man, I just want to get out there. I just want to dominate. I just want to run routes. I want to burn the receiver, the DB that I burnt against Boston College again, but at Florida State. I just want a quarterback that can actually throw the ball forward." Because if you go back and you look at what he had at Kansas, that's part of the reason why he's leaving Kansas, is because he didn't have a good quarterback situation, which our quarterback situation ain't optimal, but it's better than theirs.
And the situation at Florida, I guess, let's just be honest, Trayvon Grimes transferred from Ohio State. He was obviously from South Florida, and then Justin Short from Penn State, bigger name programs. I guess my question was just more the fact it's Kansas. Kansas has been a running joke in the Power 5 conferences for the better part of the decade now. So that's what I would
also go look at where he put up. Look at his stats against pretty decent teams, and you'll see that he's like, that's the reason why. Not last year, but the season before. It's not like he just put up, like, he got 900 yards and 780 of them were put up against just traditional Ducks. He's performed pretty well against some teams that in the Big 12 that put up numbers, but overall, there's still some glaring needs. We still need a running back. We still need another running back because we lost a good running back.
Yeah,
we still need another offensive lineman. We still need some other pieces.
I certainly think it's understandable for a typical fan, if there's a transfer from Oklahoma, to say, "Hey, we're excited about that," versus Kansas. But you got to delve a little bit deeper than that. There are quality players at Kansas. In the Power 5, they actually have players that move on to the NFL. It may only be 3 or 4 starters out of their 22 on the depth chart on the first team, but it's still 3 or 4 or 5 guys. It's probably more than that. But,
I was not attacking the Kansas Jayhawks. Everyone, deep breath.
Because but I will say this: between the transfers and the recruits, there's in the spring, understandable code, 70% of this roster has been brought in by Mike Norvell. So that is your team. You have flipped this locker room. It bet not be no 3-6, and there's more to come. There's not there. There's still about I believe about 4 to 6 people that they're still in it for. Doesn't mean they're coming, but I know that there are some steps, there's some things that's up and I believe upgrades. And the cool thing is too, outside of like with the Johnson kid, with some of these other potential guys, is they're not just getting one and dones. Parchment is a one and done, but a lot of these other guys, Milton, is he a one and done or does he have 2 years? Because I'm confused because people keep giving me he's a one and done. Okay,
yeah.
I thought he might have had that on merit, but whatever. So those two one and dones. The other guys have 3 and 4 years that they'll have left where they'll be able to come in and be able to contribute. And so they're basically in a recruiting class.
But like y'all two have been talking about, the locker room has been a huge disappointment, and it started off, I think, at the very beginning of the season during the offseason. I think Marvin Wilson and a lot of these guys, even more veteran guys, weren't on the same page with Mike Norvell. I mean, it's obvious. There's guys that are leaving. There's guys that were intending on leaving during the middle of the season, and they got turned down. And you see there's a few of them that are going to the entering their name into the NFL draft. And then you got one that thought he was going somewhere, but he got told no, and he's going to go join one at a fellow ACC team. So the locker room has been, it was just turmoil from the very beginning. You want to get guys that are believing in the process, believe in your coach, and that plays a huge vital role in any kind of success. If you're watching film, you're believing in what plays are being put in. I mean, James can talk about it. I mean, it's all about being able to be on the same page, and I just really don't think they were from the very beginning before they even took the first snap against Georgia Tech. And that sucks, but it just is what it is. But it seems like you got to have your own locker room, and that's what Norvell and any staff is going to try to do when they see that there's been a problem. And there's a lot of, I mean, how many Willie Taggart guys are left now? I mean, should we talk about Warren Thompson leaving now? I mean, I feel like he was gone I thought he was gone.
He was on the team.
I thought he was gone when Willie Taggart and them went at it.
Warren Thompson and the running back, I believe, from out of the Beaufort area that ended up transferring out. Both were young men who had to who emotionally did not transition very well to the college setting. Happens sometimes, nothing wrong with that. And they needed to go get some help to go talk to somebody to try to help get them there. And that was one of the things that basically Taggart and staff forced them to do that, much to the chagrin of the parents and other people. So like, because again, there's still this stigma on talking to a shrink. I have no idea why, but like, listen, when you get to that, especially when I hear if people believe how sensitive these kids are to tweets, they need to go see a shrink. Like, and also bigger than that, when you're used to performing on a high level and you no longer do it and you don't know why, but you can't piece together why talking to somebody does help. So that was something that also was taken away. So a lot of the outbursts, a lot of the things weren't him being a bad person. It was him really needing somebody to help piece together the mental things. And that happens more often in football than not. Some people self-medicate. Some people do other things. Some people, go seek professional help. So that didn't happen. That stopped happening. He was doing okay because he was having some success. He essentially, and this isn't a good thing or a compliment, he essentially filled the Keith Gavin role at Florida State. Big body wide receiver, runs decent routes. When the ball is thrown to him, it's a 50% chance he's going to catch it, which is a terrible way to get there. And the Thursday before Duke, he was kicked off the team. He got into a big dust up, and I think that was strike 33. And he hasn't even been around. Like he wasn't at the game. He didn't do warm-ups. It was just that. And but the one thing I will say with outside of that is that Mike, which should go into leading the locker room to reform, is that Mike has done his exit evals. And the way they did their exit evals, it was with the position coach, and the position coach told you. Like, so let's say it was just last week. So like Monday, Tuesday, you get a chance to meet with your position coach. Wednesday, Thursday, you're meeting with Mike Norvell. And in between that, if you needed to talk to your coordinator, you had to reach out to the coordinator. So I know some people who talk to all three. And A lot of punches were not held, and he welcomed it. Like, he didn't just say, "Dude, you suck, you stink, I don't want you here anymore," and not let you get your piece in about how you felt about him. And I think the biggest thing from talking to, having a few people comment to me about how it went, it was a lot of ownership on the lack of communication and execution during the quarantine time. I've been very vocal about that. They might not have been able to practice. They might not have been able to do a lot of other things. But the NCAA says you can't do football-related drills during the offseason. It doesn't say you can't talk. It doesn't say you can't communicate. And there's 40 hours in a week. There were 4 months. And I think I did the math on this show. I know I did it on my radio show, but you do 40 times 10 times 16 weeks, because I'm going to give you 2 of those weeks. They had 5-week months, so give them the 2 weeks off of vacation. There was a ton of hours to be able to develop relationships, because that's all you really had to do to be able to do. But that's really where everything, to be able to talk about just general knowledge of life in football. So I think, though, this time around, and when relationships build, and if you really want to build, especially with a bunch of guys that you deem to be alpha males, you got to be able to let them tell you that your baby ugly. And they got in at the same, and vice versa. So there were some guys that I'm of the belief that were told it's in their best interest to declare, or it's in their best interest, like, to do something, or what are you going to do? Because if you're going to be negative, don't be around here. Right, wrong, or indifferent. And then after talking to a couple of other coaches, it's not even like what the fan base is doing. Like, oh, you stink, you go on. It's like, nah, man, it's in your best interest to go somewhere else. We'll be nothing but supportive. We'll talk to coaches good about you. We won't burn the bridge with you. So it was grateful. So I mean, those are the biggest things that I think kind of come out of this, and Mike got to capitalize on it. He can't have them little lies catch him up no more. Like, just, and again, it's not a big lie, but it's the little lies are the ones that get people to not trust you anymore. Like telling the Miami, the commission or committee or whatever it was, that you're not going to fire Telly, and then you fire Telly, which is, again, it's in everybody knows the game. They know exactly how it's supposed to go. But just tell them, I'm going to evaluate Telly, and if I can keep him, I'll keep him, but I may have to move on. And they would have been 100% with you about that. It's saying, I just text messaged my players. Not I reached out and individually talked to them. Don't make it seem like you did something more than other people did. Just don't tell that white lie. Don't tell the little white lie about the COVID testing. Don't tell this. Don't tell that. Don't tell people that DJ Matthews is practicing for punt returns when DJ Matthews is in Jacksonville and has already told you he's opted out. Like, don't say those things, because those are the things that get caught up and create way more distraction than what it really is. So I'm actually giving him, because of lack of COVID and the recruiting, how it kind of did take a turn for the better, because of some of this momentum, maybe, just maybe, this could be year 1.5 or 1.2 for him. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't want to hear it. Don't nobody want to hear excuses about give me more time. It's time. The time is now.